Welcome to Audible Sportscast, your home for all things sports. Welcome back to another episode, everybody. We have Brett and Jeff here today, and, well, one of the big moments of the NFL season was last week in the NFL draft, and gotta start off right with it. I think it might have been one of the best, at least watching, has been one of the best drafts. And also, for anyone who didn't notice, we did have an NFL live draft show, so it was a pretty fun experience. I know you kind of missed some of it, but it was fun, and hopefully we can do that next year and for more things. Obviously, my Wi-Fi needs to get better to do stuff like that, but just look out for more stuff like that. And also, while we're talking about it, we are posting TikToks almost every day, so that'll be linked down below, but always follow our social medias to keep more track of what we're doing. But yeah, NFL draft was over the last weekend, and it seemed like probably one of the better ones. I know there maybe wasn't as much.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting. I mean, I felt like there were more trades. I don't know if there were more trades than normal. It just felt like it was.
I feel like there was less trades than normal. I mean, at least we didn't see a lot of player trades per se, at least early.
No, it was bigger move pick trades. That's what all it was.
I mean, plus it didn't help too that the big trade happened over a month before the actual draft with the Bears and Panthers.
Yeah.
But we still, now that trade's finally, actually it's technically not over because the Bears still get picks the next 2 years. But I mean, we can start off with that. Bryce Young taking Panthers first overall, but Bryce Young first overall. You think that's a good spot for him with the Panthers? I mean, there's a lot of good.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good coach there for quarterbacks and stuff. I think he still got a lot to prove, but I think Houston to me won the draft with their move. I liked what they did, quarterback on offense and defense.
Yeah, I mean,
that's kind of how I see it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, they had to maybe give up a little bit much to be able to get Will Anderson third overall, and now, a team that still has a couple holes. If Stroud doesn't do very good, they could be in a position where their pick next year is very high, and the Cardinals, being a team with an injured Kyler Murray, who knows how much he'll play, if he'll even play, they could be in a spot where they have two very good picks next year. That could be interesting to keep an eye on going into next season.
And because they could dump Kyler Murray after this season.
They could, if
he doesn't play, he's gone.
That would be honestly kind of interesting in the sense of, in 2018 they took Josh Rosen. He didn't do good. They immediately draft Kyler Murray. Then are they going to go? Obviously they gave him the second contract already with Kyler, but that would be an interesting kind of event.
They're probably regretting that, especially since Cliff was the main driver.
But
of that.
I guess we'll see, but it's still early in the contract. I doubt they get rid of him unless they just are in love with some of these prospects.
I mean, if they're a dumpster fire this next year, they're going quarterback.
No, but what if he comes back earlier than maybe expected or halfway through the season and shows out and maybe squeaks them into the playoffs?
That's true. But what if he just takes the whole season off and plays video games? I mean, it's a very what-if situation.
It's a what-if, but at least it sounds like they're going to be keeping their wide receiver one. It's not official, but DeAndre Hopkins this week came out.
I'm not sure what the market is.
I think that's part of the problem is that there wasn't the market the Cardinals wanted, so they might be stuck with him.
Because if he was 3 years younger, the market would have been there.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can even say, well, it was a weird market for him 3 years ago because around 3 years ago is when he was traded, and
yeah, he's just getting old. I mean, not saying he's not an elite receiver still. I just think he's getting older.
He's hit that 30 mark, which is always kind of that mark you pay attention to at most of those skill positions. So it'll be interesting to see, if DeAndre Hopkins can stay healthy. I know he dealt with some injuries the last couple of years, the suspension last year. So And not to mention, will he be good for when Kyler gets back? And then those two can be, if those two can, can stay together to play, at least I'd say the second half of the season. Yes, that team has some issues, but I think that could be a team that maybe squeak into the playoffs if they don't want to go full tank mode.
Yeah, maybe squeak in. I mean, I think it's obviously there's two teams in that division ahead of them. I wouldn't put the Rams, right? Not right now.
Rams are a tricky one.
Maybe.
Because
their offense is still somewhat intact.
I mean, as long as Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and Aaron Donald stay healthy, you have a chance in almost any game. But at the same time, there's still a lot of holes. I mean, going into the draft, they had like, I think 43, I believe, players on their roster, and that's before the draft. I know they had a lot of, mid-round picks, so they were able to fill that up.
They got a lot of comp picks.
Yes. So, I mean, I think it was kind of interesting, too, that Stetson Bennett was drafted to the Rams. Georgia quarterback, now backing up another Georgia quarterback. We kind of saw a decent amount of that. Saints did it, too. Derek Carr went to Fresno State.
Yeah.
They went and got, I'm going to kind of butcher his name, Herring, I think is how you pronounce his name, out of Fresno
I think
State.
part of that is I think some of those guys, like I bet you they go back and work out at the college occasionally.
Oh, definitely.
It's just make.
I definitely think that. I mean, normally you see a lot of times those guys either go back, they donate. We see it all the time, especially guys like, I know Anthony Richardson, who we can talk about here now, went to high school around the time Jalen Hurts was still in college, and Hurts, came to talk to his high school, and ever kind of since then, Richardson kind of mirrored his game in the shape of Jalen Hurts, and now he gets to play for.
He's just a bigger guy.
He is.
Richardson's a little bigger.
He is, and you can maybe argue his at least arm power is maybe better, at least at this point into coming into the NFL. And now he gets to play for Jalen Hurts, old play caller. And I think if any quarterback went to the best spot, it would have to be Anthony Richardson going to the Colts. When looking at some of those top quarterbacks that were,
he's got a decent offensive line, a pretty good offensive line. He's got a good running back. That's the keys right there. Pittman.
I mean, the team didn't look as maybe most of us expected the Colts to look last year, but you get them a good head coach who is from everything I've seen coming out of Philly from the last 2 years,
We'll just blame Matt Ryan. It's the easiest thing. It's the easiest thing to do.
Unfortunately, and it's not the first time. And
I actually like him as a player and just a guy from what I've seen of him over the years. But I mean, I don't know if it's luck or just what it is with him.
Yeah, it's definitely some. I mean, I know we were kind of going into last season thinking the Colts with Matt Ryan could be a contender, and I think part of the problem too that a lot of Colts fans kind of said where he couldn't run away, and when the offensive line, he couldn't move in the pocket at all. So when the offensive line didn't play as good as it maybe has in the last couple years, they were screwed. And now they have themselves, a very physical quarterback who, I mean, we've yet to see it. I mean, he's only started 13 games in his college career, but they have themselves a physical guy. They can bring a lot of what they ran in Philly to Indianapolis. What could be an amazing run game with Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson. It should be fun. But quick stat.
I mean, I think if I were a Colts fan, I'd be happy we didn't trade for Lamar. Only for the fact is now you have a rookie quarterback on a cheap deal, and you can surround him with whatever he needs. Where Lamar would have really, they probably would have had to let Taylor walk.
More than likely. I mean, that still could still be something we see. I mean, the running back market
last year wasn't as good as it was the year prior.
Not to mention, this running back market right now is probably at the lowest it's ever been. Yeah. But quick stat, I want to share that I found while the draft is going on. the fewest NCAA starts by a first-round quarterback drafted since 2002. Anthony Richardson had 13. Mitch Trubisky, drafted by the Bears, also had 13.
He only had like 11. Or I thought he was a little less, but
Anthony Richardson and Mitch Trubisky both have had the fewest collegiate starts and then becoming a first-round drafted quarterback. The next three on that list: Dwayne Haskins, rest in peace; Cam Newton, NFL quarterback, NFL MVP,
rest in peace.
His career, but not. And then Mark Sanchez, butt fumble. So that's a very interesting list of guys who.
Well, Sanchez was a long-time NFL player.
He was. I mean, he took
starter.
him and the Jets. That Jets defense took him to the AFC Championship, but he's played
and the run game.
Yes. But at the same time, that's maybe seems like
that's what Carolina did with Cam Newton too.
Yeah, I mean, but you can easily say Cam Newton was the best one on that list, but the rest of the list kind of.
Oh, he is the best one on the list.
Easily, but at the same time, that's a questionable list, and hopefully the trend doesn't continue with Richardson, but it could go either way. So it'll be interesting to see.
I mean, yeah. I mean, he's. It's very important these first couple of years in the NFL. I think that list can kind of show you that.
But I kind of mentioned it with Richardson. With Richardson, I think being probably in the best spot for me. What of all I would say the first 5 quarterbacks taken between C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, and Hendon Hooker. Which one do you think is probably drafted in the best spot, whether that's for now or for their career?
Hooker or Richardson, I think.
Hendon Hooker is definitely in an interesting spot.
He's an injury away from being their starter on a playoff team.
He is, and for anyone who doesn't know, Hendon Hooker was drafted by the Lions. But at the same time, it seems like they're kind of high on...
That's why I said injury. It seems like one of those scenarios where Jared Goff gets injured. And
what's interesting, too, is I heard reports, too, right after they drafted him, like I think that the Monday or Tuesday after the draft, like, there's reports that they're working on a contract extension. In fact, I don't know.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
I don't know if maybe Goff saw them draft him and thought, I want some maybe, like, does this team want me?
I mean, you can't hate on Goff. His stats have been pretty good. So, I mean, you can't.
I mean, I think he goes.
And he did take the Rams,
Did he? Did he take them, or did that a
random
running? He was handing the ball off to C.J. Anderson that whole playoff run.
Plus, throw some passes, but it still takes. Everyone sleeps on him just because of how he got shipped out of L.A.
Plus, you also got to remember that was the same playoff run with the pass interference no call. So
that's true.
So I don't know how much credit you want to give Jared Goff. But, I mean, yes, he was the quarterback, and he was also a part of one of the worst offensively
I just know his stats
scored.
last year were really efficient, that's all.
They were efficient, but at the same time, once again, they were relying a lot on a run game with, I would call Jared Goff maybe a middle-tier quarterback.
Yeah, but that's all the Lions want and need right now.
But can Hendon Hooker, I mean, obviously, over time, maybe give him a year? I guess it depends how Jared Goff plays. If this lights a fire under him and he plays great, they go to the playoffs, maybe win a game or two.
Because Hooker could be their starter in 3 years, per se. And he can sit and learn, I guess, depending on coaching staff and what happens.
Is that just what the NFC North likes to do between them and the Packers? Just draft a replacement and don't start him for 3-4 years?
Pretty much.
Which obviously now, which we didn't really get to talk about. We talked a little bit on the live stream, but Aaron Rodgers finally traded to the Jets. We don't have to go too much into it.
To the Green Bay Jets, yeah.
Yeah, they have signed a lot of ex-Packers, or a handful of ex-Packers. I mean, really only, Lazard and Randall Cobb.
But
still, I think they'll be good. It's the toughest division in probably all of the NFL in that AFC East between the Bills, Dolphins, Jets, and Patriots. Even the Patriots, they might have had.
if they get, Rodgers from 3 years ago, they win that division.
Heck,
And I
if
think
they
that's
even
what
get
the-
Rodgers
that's what-
from last year
Yeah.
with the way that team played. If it stays healthy, Brees Hall, those receivers, that defense got better. They drafted McDonald
It's better
out of
than the
Iowa
Packers
State.
defense was, so yeah.
Oh yeah, easily. I mean, as a whole, that division did get better. I know a lot of people are maybe upset about how the Patriots drafted, where they didn't really get any offensive help, but that team, I mean, getting Christian Gonzalez at 17, they got Keon White in the middle of the second round. They had a really great draft, I thought, for the Patriots. They're probably one of my top drafts.
I mean, if I were Gonzalez, I'd be very happy because the last few corners who were drafted in his position by the Patriots were Pro Bowlers for years.
And I mean, he just fits maybe not the criteria, but like everything you want for a Patriots defensive back. Physical in both his play and actual size. I called him 6'3", but he's more like 6'1". Fast, versatile, like he fits the Patriots mold. I mean, since we talked about the Patriots being one of my favorite drafts, what teams maybe stuck out to you for what they did in the draft?
You can't hate on the Eagles draft.
No, they're getting maybe too much praise, I feel like, from...
They are, but I think if they hit on 2 or 3 of those guys, that makes it all worth it.
Yeah. Steelers are another one I really liked. Getting, they went and traded up past the Jets to get Broderick Jones, their potentially future tackle. Joey Porter in the second round.
That was only because of Bill Belichick, though.
Yeah, but still, I mean... you always got...
No, the Steelers had a good draft. I mean,
it's a little biased, but the Bears seem to have had a really great draft,
I like
too.
the Bears draft. I like the Lions draft, except for the linebacker pick. That's the only one I wouldn't agree with. At the spot it was taken.
I know a lot of people are kind of saying it wasn't a good pick, but, I mean, if you're the Lions, if they value Jack Campbell out of Iowa, as well as he could be, then... why not take him when you can?
I mean, he was a tackle machine at Iowa, so...
Oh, yeah, and he's physical. I know some people maybe now have came out and kind of showed some clips that were bad of him, but, I mean, nobody's perfect, and this kind of brings me, I guess, to a question I wanted to ask was, are we too quick to be grading and acknowledging and praising or not, giving too much negativity towards these drafts when they haven't even played on the NFL field yet?
Yes. Because of, especially now with social media as it is.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And how many people talk, probably 1,000 people or more who do their own draft grades,
I would say more than 1,000.
Yeah, I'm just throwing out a number, but it manipulates our brain.
It does.
To think this is where this guy should go because this is what I've read and this is what I've read. It's just you get used to, let's say, Gonzalez being the top 10 corner.
Yeah, I mean, mock drafts are maybe ruining NFL media because everyone wants to do their own mock draft, and for the most part, they only mock draft first-round picks. And if a team kind of quote-unquote reaches for a player, then, that's a horrible pick. When in reality, some of the reaches, like I know Cole Strange was someone I brought up a lot before the draft, like, everyone called that a bad pick, and he's maybe one of the top.
I mean, sometimes I think the Patriots teams do what they want. They don't pay attention to any of that stuff.
No, exactly. They have a draft board, and they will rank the players and whoever.
And they've sat down with the players, not these analysts.
Oh,
you know what I mean? It's
like when everyone was, and I know Chris Ballard from the Colts kind of came out after the draft, or at least after the first round, and said, like, pretty much bashed the media for spreading all these lies about some of these guys.
He's not the first or the last.
And
actually, he's the second Colts GM to get upset. Do you know the first one got upset with Mel Kiper many years ago?
Oh yeah, I know all about that. I forget his name, but it was fun.
I can't remember his name either. Yeah.
What's funny is it was about Trent Dilfer, who ended up being a subpar quarterback, but he played a long time. He won a Super Bowl. But we all know who really won that Super Bowl for the 2000 Ravens. That defense, historic defense. But I mean, going back to these draft grades, like, it's ridiculous that you can say that I'm gonna pick on the Lions here for a second, just because they're the ones that kind of have been getting the most kind of flake for their draft. Like Jahmyr Gibbs, they took him 12th overall, maybe a reach, maybe not, but some people are saying for his positional value, he has to be Barry Sanders for that pick to matter. I'm like,
yeah, I guess. With the running back market,
but
with the running back, if you're valuing it at a weird number, it doesn't make sense.
So for the 12th overall player, he has to be a Hall of Famer for that pick to make sense. No, I mean, as long as he helps that team get better.
No, if he was the number 1 pick for a running back, number 1 overall, and they picked him, that would be different.
When's the last time we've seen a number 1 overall pick be a running back? I don't even think we've had one in this century. So,
yeah,
I think the last one was like the late 90s.
I'm just using that as an example. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. I just think people are too early, and I have an example. Okay, and I know a lot of people have brought up like the 2013 Seahawks. You know, they drafted Russell Wilson. I think Bruce Irvin. I want to say even Russell Okung in that draft, and like a lot of people gave them like C's and D's for really great players that helped that team go to 2 Super Bowls. But I want to bring up a Bleacher Report. I'm not going to say who wrote it because I'm not going to shame on them. I'm going to say, but it's the 2011 draft grades for the first round for the 2011 draft. Okay, there's a couple. So for the most part, they gave pretty good grades. The first one I want to talk about is the Falcons trading up to draft Julio Jones. They guess what they gave the grade for that pick?
What, a C?
A C. Now they kept saying Julio Jones would be a great player, but they say that Julio Jones should be a fantastic player. I'm just not sure he is worth all Atlanta gave for him, which Atlanta gave up the 27th overall pick, a second round, a fourth round, a first the next year, and a fourth round the next season, which that is a lot.
Actually, for the time, it was a lot, yeah.
That is, but, I mean, obviously this is hindsight, but Julio Jones was, I mean, even then seen as a really great wide receiver. Obviously, he wasn't the first receiver taken. A.J. Green was, but both those guys, pretty good players.
Yeah.
I mean, the pick right after him, though, with Aldon Smith, who was arguably one of the best pass rushers in the NFL for 2 seasons before he got into a lot of legal trouble and all that.
And I think it was all due to mental health, really. Yeah. I mean, just saying that because I think he was a great player. I think he just sometimes you spiral out. Either it was head injuries from football or he wasn't being treated properly. And
it happens maybe too many times.
It happens too often.
But they also called this not a bad pick, but a reach. Parched, I mean...
but see, that's the problem with all these things. It's all opinions.
J.J. Watt, they also called at 11th overall. They called J.J. Watt a reach. They thought there was better.
I'm a Wisconsin fan. I thought that was a reach.
They thought there was better defensive linemen they could have taken to fit that team better. But
I thought he was a reach, and I liked him in college.
There's 2 other players I want to talk about here. At 17th overall, the Patriots took Nate Solder, who was part of Super Bowl teams. A great left tackle for the Patriots when he was there.
A good starter for the most part of a decade.
I mean, when he signed his record-breaking contract with the Giants, it didn't turn out so well. But when he was with the Patriots, great player. They gave him a D. According to him,
based off his college and all that.
Yes, they said there's better offensive tackles than him still available. You want to hear the offensive tackles that were still available that were taken later in that exact first round?
Yep.
Anthony Costanzo, I'd call that a wash.
Yep.
Danny Watkins, who was a guard/tackle.
Yeah.
Can you even tell me who that is?
No.
Exactly.
I'm familiar with the name, but I don't know who he is.
James Carpenter, who was also a guard/tackle.
He was around for.
He's been around, but
for a while.
Nate Solder clears. The final tackle taken in the first round. Actually, no, there's 2 more, but this is the one I want to talk about. Gabe Karimi.
I got a feeling that was this draft. Couldn't remember.
Yes. So of all those tackles I just named, / guards, I know some of them are kind of could have played a little bit of both. Other than Anthony Costanzo, I mean, hindsight's 2020, but I'm just trying to get to the point. We're too early to be grading these as horrible picks or good picks.
Yep.
Like,
what was Gabe Creamy graded at?
Gabe Carimi, I have it exit out now, but Gabe Carimi was graded at an A for the Bears.
There you go. And I'd say he ended up being a D-.
A D-?
Or just an F, period.
Maybe an F-. But I just kind of proves my point that we are just in a society, and like I for the most part, I've seen pretty good grades, and I think we're kind of maybe learning more that, you know, we shouldn't be grading too harshly. I mean, I've seen grades of Patrick Mahomes being a C when he was.
I mean, sometimes I think they're just not. You can have all the physical attributes in the world, but there can be a guy who's mediocre athleticism-wise, but he's outworks you. That's kind of where you can't grade that, though.
Oh,
not
yeah.
really.
You can't, and you also got it. It's also kind of taking out the consideration. The NFL is hard. Like, it's much faster paced than college. There's like just so like for the most part, especially for the quarterbacks, like maybe some of their first times having to call plays in the huddle, and it's not easy plays. Like, hey, running back run left in the 2-hole. It's like some depending on your who's calling the plays. It's a whole like paragraph of a play. So I think we
and you got to memorize all that. We look at it like it's so simple, but it's not.
It's not, and I think that's also partially. I mean, Madden maybe doesn't help in that situation for a lot of people, thinking, maybe not how easy it is to get in the NFL, but it takes it takes a lot of smarts that people just don't give NFL players. Like, people call a lot of NFL players dumb, and no, you have to be like, that's partially why some of these test scores kind of matter.
It's a perceived old thing. Yes, there are some guys who struggle because they get babied, I think, and they never had to learn, so they didn't, and they just coasted through. So then when they actually have to, that's why they end up at a JUCO or somewhere else, because in high school they were so highly touted that they just got pushed through.
As a society, maybe shouldn't be too harsh on these guys until we get to see what they're like in a locker room, on the field, because there's so many variables that as fans we just don't care about.
Well, look at it this way. We look at, I know this is how it should be a little, but the importance of the value we put on a first-round draft pick and the pressure compared to a 5th, 6th, and 7th is just, there is no middle ground. It's one end or the other. You know what I mean? It's so extreme. Because most people don't even know what their team drafted at 5, 6, 7, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. Because they just pay attention to the first pick and then off they go with life.
We're starting to get to that point with second and third rounders too. Like, we're expecting those to be even day one starters.
Yeah.
Maybe more the second than the third, but even the third round now is like, oh, you should be able to get a quality starter in the third round to turn them into something. So it's just getting to a point where I don't think we're oversaturated with so many people talking NFL or sports in general. I don't want to say that, considering that's what we're doing right now, but I think it's more people aren't giving enough maybe hindsight or caring too much about the wrong things. Can that be fixed? Will it be fixed?
No,
probably
it's
not.
It's just gonna get worse.
But that's really all we got for you today. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. As I said earlier, keep those social medias that are always linked down below. Keep an eye on them. Keep an eye on the Kentucky Derby this weekend. That'll be fun. I don't know how the odds are for that, but if that's your forte, have fun with that. If you're going, if you're paying attention to it, I honestly haven't paid attention to any of the horse races. Or is the Derby the first one? I forget how the Triple Crown works.
I mean,
what is it? The Derby, Belmont, and
what's the other one? I know the
Belmont's the other one, right?
I'm blanking on the third, though.
Whatever the case may be, there's a third one. But also, hey, keep an eye, NFL. I think we'll talk about this next week again because it's more than likely going to be released by the time our next week's episode is released. But the schedule is supposed to come out next Thursday for the NFL season, so that'll be something we have to at least talk about. That'll be fun. I mean, we already know what every team's playing, but we don't know when and maybe where, if you want to count international games that are still in limbo. It'll be fun. Can't wait to see those. Should be exciting. I mean, Bears always get at least 3 primetime games, not including Thanksgiving. We kind of almost are always guaranteed that for a while.
Yeah, we're just accustomed to that, yeah.
But it'll be fun. We'll talk about it. But without that, hey, have a good weekend and keep enjoying NBA playoffs and NHL playoffs. See you, everyone.
Thanks for listening to Audible Sportscast, your home for all things sports.